Alright guys, it's November 18th, which means it's somebody's birthday. Or is it? Welcome to Teacup for One. My name is Matt and I have 2 degrees. Well, today, the day I'm recording this, is November 18th, which means it is Mickey and Minnie Mouse's birthday. Or is it? Now, I don't know about you, but personally I am a stickler for making sure that I am celebrating the birthdays of my favorite fictional rodents on the right day. And even though we know for sure, 100%, that Mickey and Minnie Mouse are celebrating their 92nd birthday this year, it's still kind of up for debate whether or not the actual day is November 18th. Oh, and actually, I just want to pause for a split second and acknowledge that not only is it Mickey's birthday, but like I said, it is also Minnie Mouse's birthday. Because regardless of what day we decide on for their birth and their creation, the fact of the matter remains that Minnie and Mickey were introduced to the world at the same time, sharing the screen together. A lot of the attention and the love and the focus goes to Mickey on this day, but you know what? Mickey would be nothing without Minnie, and it's her birthday too, so I raise a glass to Minnie Mouse. Happy birthday, Minnie. Okay, now with that said, based on my labor-intensive Wikipedia research, there are actually a few potential dates for Mickey and Minnie's, actual birthday. And there are pretty solid reasons behind every one. Now, first off, the obvious one, the official one, the one that Disney markets and celebrates every year, November 18th, 1928, the day that Steamboat Willie had its world premiere. Steamboat Willie had its world premiere in New York City, playing before the feature film Gang War. If you've never heard of Gang War, it's probably because it's a lost film, and honestly, nobody really cares about it or cared about it because the main attraction was this 7-minute and 46-second long cartoon short starring an adorable little mouse who would win the hearts of millions. And then the world would forget about Gang War. Think of it as though Gang War is the Tracy Ullman Show and Steamboat Willie are the Simpsons. Okay. That might have just confused more of you than it actually helped, but anyway, just moving on. Steamboat Willie was a huge hit with everyone. And I personally think that a lot of that is because of its use of synchronized sound. Because just remember that this was a time when silent movies were kind of all people had. There were 2 other animated shorts that used sound before Steamboat Willie. One was a series of shorts called Sound Cartoons, and I just want to draw everyone's attention to the fact that they were called Sound Car Tunes, and I think that's hilarious and adorable. And the really cool thing about the Sound Cartoons is that their use of sync sound was having the lyrics on screen with a bouncing ball jumping over the lyrics so that people could sing along. So, I mean, even though it was no Steamboat Willie, it pioneered the practice of our modern sing-along videos, and I think that's just so special. And then the other one was a short called Dinner Time, which had a more conventional story, but also a pretty general soundtrack. Now, I'm pretty sure the reason that Steamboat Willie has gone down in history as being the first notable cartoon to use sync sound over those 2 examples is because it is so clearly a movie that was created and directed with the intention of having precise, synchronized sound. It's classic Walt Disney. He wasn't just taking baby steps towards doing his first cartoon with synchronized sound. He was taking a giant leap. Nearly every second of Steamboat Willie is some kind of sight gag complemented by perfectly timed sound effects. Just imagine spending your entire life going to the movies only knowing silent films, or silent cartoons at the very least. And then all of a sudden, you are treated to 7 minutes and 46 seconds of synced sound hilarity led by an adorable pair of mice. It's a recipe for success. So, that industry-changing film had its premiere on November 18th, 1928, and introduced the world at large to Mickey and Minnie. But is that enough to make it their birthday? Another serious contender is October 1st, 1928. And why is that? Because Walt Disney just outright told us that that was Mickey Mouse's birthday. Yeah, in 1933, he went on record and said, "Mickey Mouse will be 5 years old on Sunday. He was born October 1st, 1928. That was the date on which his first picture was started, so we have allowed him to claim this day as his birthday. Presumably, he was talking about Steamboat Willie and claiming that Mickey's birthday was the first time that Iwerks put pencil to paper and started drawing Mickey for his first ever film. And that logic checks out. It makes perfect sense. Except for the fact that Steamboat Willie was not Mickey's first movie. Mickey and Minnie's first on-screen appearance was actually in another short called Plane Crazy, about Mickey trying to emulate his hero Charles Lindbergh by building his own plane and acting plane crazy. I'm always here for the puns. And taking Minnie along for his first flight. Now, like most cartoons of the era, Plane Crazy was originally produced as a silent short. It had its first ever screening on May 15th, 1928 for a test audience. Now, this was the first time people ever saw Mickey and Minnie up on screen. But unfortunately, it didn't test super well with the test audience, and so that meant that it wasn't picked up for distribution. And you know what? Plane Crazy does not get nearly the amount of love or appreciation that it deserves. It was produced in the immediate aftermath of Walt losing the rights to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit to, I think, Universal, and also losing all of his animators to the same studio that took Oswald from him. All except for one, Iwerks, who also does not get nearly the amount of love or attention that he deserves. There's evidently a little bit of debate as to who actually created Mickey, whether it was Walt or but one thing that's not up for debate is the fact that Iwerks is the guy who designed Mickey Mouse. And he didn't just design Mickey Mouse. He single-handedly animated all 6 minutes of Plane Crazy over the course of 6 weeks, doing I think upwards of 700 drawings a day. Now that would just be an incredible feat on its own. But on top of that, Plane Crazy is an incredibly well animated film. The characterization of Mickey and Minnie are solid, the background art is beautiful, the sight gags are hilarious and very obvious precursors to the work that we saw in Steamboat Willie, and it was the first cartoon to use a camera move. This is something we take for granted as viewers now, kind of like sync sound, but just watch this POV shot when the plane is crashing. The camera is spinning and moving down to signify the crash. If I knew more about animation, I could tell you the technical reasons for why that's amazing, but just trust, it is. And to think, all of this was done by one person. Anyway, the point I'm making here is that Plane Crazy was the first time Mickey was seen on screen by anyone on May 15th, 1928. So, one could argue that that's his real birthday. But if you want to go by Walt's logic, the first time Ub put pencil to paper to start drawing for Plane Crazy would probably technically be Mickey and Minnie's first birthday, but I couldn't find a date for that, so that's out of the running. So, we have 3 contenders for a possible birthday date. The first being May 15th, when Plane Crazy premiered. The second being October 1st, which is when Walt outright said, "This is Mickey's birthday." But let's just call a spade and admit that that was probably a PR stunt more than anything, because he would have been riding the success of Steamboat Willie and not wanting to admit that Plane Crazy was made first and failed to get distribution.
And then, of course, we have November 18th, the anniversary of Steamboat Willie's premiere. Now, this is the day that Disney chooses to officially acknowledge as Mickey and Minnie's birthdays, because back in the 70s, Disney historian Dave Smith, the guy who founded the Disney Archives, just said, "Okay, everyone, I'm making the executive decision, November 18th. That's the day when the public was first introduced to Mickey and Minnie. That's their birthday." And I can't argue that. And it is really nice to have an official day selected by Disney. But I am curious, out of those 3 potential birthdays, the first time Mickey and Minnie were ever seen on screen by anyone, the day that Walt himself picked, or the day that they were introduced to the world at large, which one do you think marks their true birthday? Let me know in the comment section down below. But for now, friends, this concludes yet another episode of Teacup for One. Don't forget to let me know in the comment section down below when you think Mickey's actual birthday should be. And if you want to see me talk even more about Disney, sometimes Shakespeare, most times movies, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It is so easy. All you have to do is click on my face. Thanks for joining me again today, everyone. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and that's the T cup for one.